superheroes in South London. Yeah, I'm here for it. Let's get into this. Yes, people, this is your girl Aleisha Lee and welcome to Aleisha Lee Reviews. We will be reviewing a brand new Netflix show called Supercell, and this is a show I highly recommend you check out. Now, if you haven't seen the series already, please go and watch it now. There will be spoilers in this video, so you have been warned. Let's get into this. We start the episode by seeing a woman running through a facility. It looks like she's trying to escape, and just as she manages to get the door open, this is where we get a first glimpse and see that she has a power. Her eyes turn yellow, she blasts the door off, but just as she's about to escape, she is killed. These soldiers then drag her body through the facility, and this is where we see that there are other people that are imprisoned. We then see that this is a massive operation. We then get to meet Dion and Michael. They're a beautiful couple that are talking about their future and the plans that they've got. Michael has just bought a new car for Dion, and Dion is worried about, we got mortgage to pay, we got all these things, but Michael reassures her that this is fine and it suits her. It's perfect, and let us enjoy and chop in this life. Next, we meet Andre. We get to know from the conversation that he has with his son's mother that he hasn't been around. He's had a lot of financial issues, so he is asking for some patience and some grace from his son's mum, just so that he can get himself back on his feet and get things back on track. Now, clearly she is annoyed by this, but she does understand that her son does need his father, and she lets them continue their meal, but she does make it clear that he does need to bring in that bacon fix up. Now we're introduced to Tasar and his crew. They're a bunch of young boys that roll up at a party, and we can tell just from the interaction with the girl that opens the door, it's a bit tense because Tasar's asking about, is there ops in there? And the girl lets them know it's not that kind of party, but just from that interaction alone, we know that there is tension going on with some rival gangs. Whilst in the party, one of the ladies lets the other crew know that the TBs are in there, and that is their signal to get down there as soon as possible. We then see in no time that the Sixer boys are outside, and they threaten that if the TB boys don't come outside, that they'll be going in. When they do end up going outside, there is an interaction. Now, the other boys end up running and leaving Tasar, and that's where he gets injured by one of the Sixer boys. Now we see Michael. He is out doing deliveries, and he happens to deliver a package to a lovely young lady who does definitely think he is hot. Now, he doesn't pay her any mind. Obviously, we know that he is taken. He's got his girl Dion. She does question her sister, who we meet, and her name is Sabrina, and says, why is he not feeling me? He's not into me or what? She lets her know, listen, it's 9 a.m. Give the man a break. And that's when they talk about Sabrina. Sabrina is a nurse, and she is getting ready to go to work. Now, she doesn't actually start until 12, but she's going in there to help her patients. And that's when her sister talks about being black in the workplace, that you have to work 100 times harder. And even when you do, you still don't get the recognition. But Sabrina knows why she's doing it. She's got her reasons, and she wants to help her patients. And that's exactly what she does. Now we see Andre is hard at work, and he is getting those sales in, yes. Now, he does get called into the office by his manager, who unfortunately lets him know that he's not able to stay at the company because he didn't declare that he had been incarcerated. Now, this is something that a lot of people face once you have been in jail, and coming back out into the system, it can be really difficult to find work. You'll find that a lot of employers don't want people that have previously been incarcerated, and it's deep because a lot of situations, sometimes there can be some leeway for it. I do understand that sometimes, it's completely, absolutely not acceptable, but there are people that do reform, that do change, and they also need a chance to make some money. So this causes a lot of stress on Andre, because now he doesn't have a job after he just let his son's mother know that he is working, he's got a job now, and things will be getting better. So again, now not having a job is going to add additional financial strain onto an already stressful situation. As Andre is talking to his friend about everything, we then see a new character. His name is Rodney. He is trying to get the guys to buy some weed off of him, and they just literally tell him to go away. Obviously, Andre has just received some bad news. He's not in the mood. He don't want to hear nothing about no weed. Move, fam. We then see Rodney offer Michael his number. If he needs anything, give him a call. And it's just funny how now we're seeing that these characters, they're going to cross paths again very soon. Michael goes to visit his friend at his restaurant and lets him know the great news that he is going to be proposing to Dion. They've been together since they were in year 9, and now that they've got through things, they've bought the house, things are looking really good for them, he feels it's the right time to pop the question. Clearly his friend is so excited for him and happy to support him. Now we're at the hospital. We can see Sabrina is making sure her patients are well looked after, and that's when the man them come to visit Tasar, who is in hospital. The guys apologized to Tasar, letting him know that there was just way too many of them and they shouldn't have left him, but he makes it clear that there's not going to be any more partying until these guys are off the map. Now we see Michael is also at the hospital. We see Michael is visiting his mum. Now his mum has sickle cell, and he's actually contacted the sickle cell centre to get some advice and help for his mum. They actually come to visit his mum to explain what the centre does and how they can help her, which all sounds really good. Next we see Rod and Spud. Rod is telling him about the day that he's had, and he's literally been on the street begging everyone to buy the drugs, but ain't no one on it, and they've not made that much money. He's now regretting his decision to leave Tesco. He's saying he made enough there, he might as well should have stayed there. But Spud tries to reassure him that everything is going to be okay. And Rodney makes a comment that, you know, it's easy for you to say you can go back home anytime if you want. So that kind of lets us know that Rodney's situation's a bit different, and for whatever reason, he has to do what he's doing and he can't go back home. Now we are back at that facility that we saw at the beginning of the show, and that is when we see a young girl begging for her phone call. She wants to speak to her mum and dad. So clearly something's going on with this facility, because when we then go to Michael and Dion, Dion is actually looking at an image of the girl that shows that the girl has been missing for some time, as in a few months, which Michael mentions. Now, when she does flick to the next picture, we see that is actually the woman that was killed at the beginning of the episode. So this is letting us know that something is going on. They are taking people and holding them against their will, because clearly that young girl wants to be with her family. Clearly that woman was trying to escape to get back to her family. So something fishy is going on at that facility, and we know that people are being taken away against their will. Michael lets Dion know that they will be going out on Friday, and to dress up, you know, they deserve it. Let's go out, babes. And that's exactly what they're gonna do. Now we're back on the estate, and that's where we see Tasar has somewhat recovered from his injury, and he links up with the man them and asks them what are they listening to. Tuesday lets him know that they're listening to a track from Chucky that he's just dropped, dissing them, and he's like, you know what, I can't even lie, it's wavy though. You know, sometimes I hear it, it's hard to distance yourself from the track. If the track sound good, it sound good, but morally, that's wrong. He's literally dissed up your friend, injured your friend, and you're there dancing to it, which Tasar correctly points out and lets him know this guy tried to spill my blood and you're there dancing. Move. Now we're back with Michael, who is back on doing his deliveries, and we see that he ends up at the same estate as the guys. Now, as he's about to do the delivery, the guys come out and trying to tell him that there's a tax. Listen, yeah, anyway, let me continue with the story. They're like to him, yeah, we'll take the deliveries for you, just got to pay us this amount. And rightfully so, Michael is looking at them like, are you mad? Are you for real? Next, we see Tasar come out of nowhere, and Tasar ends up stabbing Michael. Tasar, why? He just took it too far. We see Michael collapse on the ground. The guys tell Tasar to run, and they get out of there, leaving Michael. We then see that this is actually a vision. Michael's actually driving on his way to the estate. He isn't actually at the estate yet. So this lets us know that Michael has some sort of superpower where he's able to see the future and see what is going to happen. he kind of shakes it off because I don't think he believes himself that he saw what he really saw. But he starts to realize as he gets out of the vehicle that everything that he saw in that vision is starting to happen. Just as things start to get a bit physical, Tasar steps in. Now remember, in the vision, Tasar was the one that actually stabbed him. But here, Tasar steps in and says to him, now you know there's a tax, do better next time, and lets Michael go. Now, let's just pause here. Sorry. You are out of order. What kind of taxing? If people got to do their delivery, let them do their delivery. How dare you try and imply a tax after they're already trying to make money, do their job, and then they got to pay you to deliver to the estate? No, sir. Anyway, Michael, let's have words, because I will be making sure that there's some sort of tax they're going to pay if you want your package. Now we see Rodney. Now he's late to meet one of his clients, and the client says, listen, if you're not here by this time, I'm going to find someone else. Rodney tries his car isn't working, so he decides to make his way to get the bus. Now, as he's going to the bus stop, the bus is going. That's when he starts running, and we see his eyes turn. Just like what we saw what happened with Michael, we see Rodney's eyes turn, and he just starts breezing. When I say breezing, I mean breezing. We can't even see him. He's that fast. So fast. He ends up in Scotland. Now we see Sabrina is getting ready to go out on a date. Her sister asks her, you know, you're looking nice, where are you going? And that's when Sabrina mentions that she's going out with Kevin. Now Shah, she's not a big fan of Kevin. She thinks her sister can be doing much, much better. But those who don't hear must feel. And we're going to see later on that Sabrina feels it. Kevin sends a text to Sabrina letting her know that he isn't able to make it, and this is where Shah is like, he stood you up again. Sabrina lets her know the last time it was a family emergency, and Shah's like, what is it this time? Let's go to the house and see what's really going on. Now this isn't Sabrina's style, but deep down inside Sabrina knows that something is wrong, and I think that's why she even entertains Shah's suggestion to go and do a pop-up at Kevin's house. Now we see Andre. He is on his way to meet his son, and his son is giving him his request. Now when he gets to the cash point, Andre realizes that he doesn't have the funds. In fact, his account is in a negative balance. He hasn't been paid from work. He calls his friend and he is absolutely livid. He's mad because obviously he's put in a lot of work, and yes, although he didn't pass the check, he should still be getting his money. And in his anger, he ends up punching the cash machine, and he punches it so much that it actually breaks the cash machine and money just starts flying out. Now, obviously, this is great for Andre. He starts picking up that cash. And yes, we see, you know how it is in London. There's cameras everywhere. So, of course, this was caught on camera. I wonder if this is going to come back to bite Andre later. We see a different side to Tasar, different to when he's with the man them. Why? Because he is with his grandma and the manners are present. Yeah? You see, when it comes to grandma, don't play. Don't play. And I'm glad that Tasar has that level of respect. His grandma wants to speak to him and find out what's really going on. She explains that she sees what's going on in the area, young black boys killing each other, and it isn't right. His grandma also mentions, does he want to end up like Craig that he used to follow? Now, I'm thinking Craig is the same person that Shah mentioned to Sabrina, who she's had an on and off relationship with. He's in jail at the moment. Now, this is someone that Tasar looked up to when he was coming up, and it's someone that his grandma doesn't believe is a good influence for him. Tasar's grandmother also mentions that she promised his mum that she would look after him, and he says not to mention that woman. But his grandmother is hopeful that she will be back. Tasar tells his grandma not to waste her prayers on his mother and that he won't end up like Craig. The camera then pans to a picture of Tayo and his mum, and that's where we realise that his mother is the lady that was killed right at the beginning of the episode. Crazy. And this explains the reason why she hasn't been there. She didn't run away, she was kidnapped. Next we see Sabrina pops up at Kevin's house, and that is where she is met by another woman who opens the door, and obviously she is absolutely flabbergasted because this proves that Kevin has been lying to her all this time. Now when Kevin does come out, he says to Sabrina, why would you just come here without calling? And that's where she turns around to walk away, and Kevin couldn't help himself. Instead of letting the girl walk away. Oi, I'm chatting to you. And that's where he felt it, boy. Because when he tries to catch up with Sabrina, she tells him to leave her alone. But we see that her eyes turned yellow, and that is where we see her use her power, which seems to be telekinesis. She didn't even touch him, and that boy moved. Next, we see Michael and Dion at the restaurant, and he proposes. Of course, Dion says yes. They are so happy and on a high. When they get home, things are getting a little hot and steamy. Yes, enjoyment we say, of course. But something crazy happens where Dion notices Michael's eyes turn yellow, and then all of a sudden, Michael disappears. Michael disappeared to the future. This is where we see Tasar, Sabrina, Andre, Rodney, and the future Michael getting ready for some sort of invasion or war. This is where Tasar notices the past Michael and alerts the future Michael that, yo, you're here. Michael speaks to him and lets him know now that he's in the future, they've got a chance to try and fight. And no, I'm sorry, this scene was too hard. Did you see the way that Michael just vroom? Now, when the bad guys come in, we're going to just call them the bad guys. The bad guys, we see them coming through the portal and they are getting ready to fight. Our team, they're ready to war on this one. This is where we see that Michael is able to stop time. So as well as being able to travel in the future, he actually can stop time. Then he teleports our present day Michael to where Dion's resting place is. Yes, Dion passes away. Michael learns that Dion passes 3 months after he proposes. Future Michael lets him know that the fact that he is here, there's a possibility that he can stop it from happening. Michael is clearly confused, doesn't know what was going on. As far as he knows, just a few seconds ago, he was with Dion. Now he's speaking to his future self about her passing. How are this? Future Michael lets him know just the fact that he is here, he may be able to stop this. And that is where the episode ends. Wow. Listen, I already, just from this episode, me want to see season 2, 3, 4, and 5, all right? This was amazing. Superheroes set in London, people that look like you, it's crazy. So I'm loving it. Big shouts out to the whole team for this one. And like I said, I'm calling it from now. We're going to get season 2. We have to. What an intro. This is really setting up the story and letting us know what we can expect. And to be honest, I don't know what we can expect because there's a lot of unexpected things that happen. Finding out about Tasar's mum, seeing Tasar's mum at the beginning, letting us know that this is massive. This just lets us know that there is something bigger going on. We can see that from the technology that they've got there, they're probably working for the government, or maybe not. Maybe there's some organization above the government, but this is a serious operation that they're doing where they are kidnapping people. People are being taken from their families so that they can be imprisoned at this facility. And definitely it is due to their powers. So many questions, but I am ready and I am here for it. Loving Supercell. That was episode 1. Let me know your thoughts on what you thought about this episode. I thought it was a fantastic episode, a great intro, and I'm really intrigued to find out what happens to our heroes. I'm going to give this episode 9 boys out of 10. I highly recommend you watch Supercell. I thought it was absolutely amazing. Even the way that it's been set up, showing us the future now, and we're going to now see how these characters lead up to that point where we see them in the middle of London getting ready for a war, literally. So let me know your thoughts on this episode. In the next episode, we're going to be reviewing episode 2, which is called Tasar. So we're going to get into that and I'm excited. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you are notified when that review is up. Listen guys, it's up and it's stuck. The Supercell crew is here. Our first heroes of the South London. Do you know what? For season 2, Ratman, hear me out. Hear me out. Come to East. Come to East. Come to East, yeah? I want to see a Supercell in a Hackney. Yes, yes. Anyway, guys, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share with your people them. Let them know we're reviewing Supercell over here. And yeah, I will catch you in the next review. Don't know, boy. We start the episode right where we left off. Michael is back with Dion. And of course, she is absolutely in shock. She's scared. She don't know what's going on. She just literally saw the man disappear. He is shocked as well. And they realize that, yeah, something is definitely going on. Michael explains to Dion that he went to the future. He writes down the names of the people that future Michael let him know he needs to find now. We're going to see how all of this unfolds. Andre is back at home. Obviously, he is clearly shocked, but he makes sure he stashes that cash. Now we're with Rodney, who is trying to use his powers again, but it doesn't seem to be working on the streets of Edinburgh. Now he does meet someone that he manages to sell some weed to in exchange for some cash so that he can buy a ticket back to London. Next, we see Sabrina. We are back just after the incident that she had with Kevin, and Shah has no sympathy for this man at all. In fact, I just realized as well, in episode 1, Shah took the people them Nando's. How she take the people them, they was waiting for their delivery and Shah took their Nando's. Nah, I was busting up. But yeah, Shah is ready to get into those chips, and she lets Sabrina know that they need to get out of there. The police are on their way and Sabrina hasn't got answers for questions that they will be asking. Michael is going back through what future Michael let him know. He lets him know that he needs to find all 4 of them, Andre, Rodney, Sabrina and Tasar. He can't let any of them die, otherwise Dion will die. Michael leaves Dion to visit his friend. He needs someone to talk to about this, and he lets him know that he knows the day that Dion is going to die, and he just basically lets him know everything that just happened. His friend plays it down, you know, it's probably one of those mad dreams, but Michael lets him know that this was real. Next, we see Tasar is watching a live where the ops are taunting him and saying that he thinks he's crazy, but he clearly isn't. Now, obviously, this is going to agitate Tasar, and they're going to start making moves towards the ops. The TBs reach the Sixer Boys block and there's no one there. Tuzi even has to go on live and lets them know we're outside. They are there waiting, looking for the ops. They can't see them anywhere. That is when we see what appears to be a civilian. They're onto him. And just as they are about to beat up this poor lad, that is when Tasar tells them to stand down. But that's when we see it is a decoy. One of the guys recognizes that boy as being in one of the music videos. Just as that guy is running around the corner, that is where we see all of the boys come out. That is where we realize that this was all a setup. They have been lured here and this is an ambush. Now we can see that this whole thing has set up by Veronica. That is the girl that was messaging the Sixer Boys back in episode 1 when they were at the party, so you can clearly see whose side she is on. The Sixer Boys start chasing the TB lot, and that is when they get separated once again and Tasar is left to fend for himself. This is where we see Tasar uses his power, which is where he is able to become invisible. He attacks some of the Sixer Boys, leaving them on the floor. His friend is in absolute shock, and that is where they leave the scene, but we can see that the CCTV camera has seen everything. Next, we are with Sabrina and Shah. Kevin is going to be all right, so there's no need for Sabrina to worry, but of course, Sabrina is worried. Now, she's so worried. This is the first time that she has called in sick, and Shah is even making it known like this is the first time and you're not even getting a promotion yet. But Sabrina, clearly her mind is on Kevin. Sabrina tries to explain to Shah yet again that she didn't touch Kevin. Obviously, Shah is in disbelief and Sabrina tries to let her know, do you think I want to be saying this? But she's trying to explain to her what is going on. Next, we see Andre and his son AJ are out shopping, having a good time, and that is where AJ bumps into some of the older guys that he knows. Now, his dad is obviously concerned. He's being distracted by a guy trying to sell him internet, but he is not interested. Andre tells AJ to leave those boys, and he lets him know that those are the types of guys that will use him to sell their drugs and hide weapons, and he doesn't want that for his son. He insists that AJ deletes the number and they keep it moving. Next, we're with Rodney and Spud, and Rodney is explaining to him that he can run as fast as the speed of light. He ended up in Scotland. And obviously Spud is a bit skeptical about it, but Rodney is insistent that he can do it. As Spud makes his way into the job centre, we see that Rodney is about to get a ticket, and that's where his powers activate and he ends up in Brixton. To show just how fast Rodney is, he ends up making it back just in time before the ticket inspector can even issue the ticket, and keeps it moving. Back with Michael and Dion, Dion thinks that they should go to the police, but Michael lets her know that's not going to work, and even tries to divert the conversation to discuss the wedding, where Dion is like, it's very nice, but no, we're not going to do that. Whilst Michael's in the shower, we hear an announcement on the radio where they're looking for witnesses regarding the injuries of 5 people earlier. Now we know that that was Tasar, and that is where Michael has a flashback to the vision he had where Tasar was the one that injured him. This has got the wheel spinning that he could have something to do with this incident. Michael's powers are really kicking in, where he ends up teleporting himself to the living room where Dion manages to calm him down, and that's where he says to Dion, Tasar. Tasar goes to visit his friend, who lets him know that no matter what, he is there to ride with him. Even if he was an alien, he is riding. Tasar goes on to explain to Screamer how he came about getting his powers, and he wanted to make sure that he could control it. He said his eyes were tingling, and then he looked in the mirror and there was nobody there. Tasar talks to Screamer about them having to up their game to make some more peas, and that's where they talk about getting into the drug dealing world. Tasar and Screamer go to meet the rest of the mandem, and that is where Tasar shows them his powers. Obviously they are amazed, they're in shock, and Tiny has a lot of questions. One of them being, why didn't he use his power on the day that all of these Sixer boys were outside? And Tasar lets him know that he tried to control his power, but he just couldn't do it then. But now he's fully in control. The guys are discussing supplying on the op block. Now that they're out the way, Tasar asks Tiny to line up some food with his connects. And Tiny is questioning this because this is a lot of food to move, but the guys insist, and Tiny makes the call. Back with Dion and Michael, they're taking some time out. You know, Michael's obviously tense about everything that's going on. Dion tries to reassure him that, you know, let's just forget about it. He said to Dion that his powers, you know, he doesn't have them anymore, but we know that isn't the case. In fact, they're only going to get stronger. Now, Dion just wants to move on and forget about things, but we know Michael can't, and Dion, she shows her support. He's going to continue his search for all of the guys, and that leads us to where we see him on the block looking for Tasar, and that's where he bumps into Tiny and Toozy. Now, Toozy, obviously, due to everything that's happened, he's a bit on edge, but Tiny lets him know, just allow it, man. And that's where Michael asks for Tasar's details, and instead Toozy gives him his number and says he will pass the message to Tasar. Just as they finish exchanging numbers, for a price of course, that is when we see the Sixer boys turn up on a mad one, and they are letting it off. That is where we see Toozy and Tiny manage to run away, but poor Michael is left to fend for himself. These Sixer boys are onto him. Obviously they believe he is a part of the TB boys, and that is where we hear a shot. But instead of seeing what happens, we see that there is a CCTV camera once again filming everything. We're now with Dion, and she has woken up alone in bed, and that is where she gets up to look for Michael and sees that he isn't there. But just as she enters the living room, that is where Michael is zoop back in the room. We can see he clearly has his powers. Dion even mentions, I thought you said your powers were gone. That is where we see in his hand there is the bullet. We then get to see what really happened. We see that Michael stopped time. Just as that bullet was shot, he managed to stop time, and therefore he was able to get himself out of that sticky situation. We see Michael collapse as it looks like this has taken the life out of him. The TB guys go to meet the Connect and things don't go to plan, as they thought that they had about 5 days to do this move, and the guy lets them know, put down my things, get out. But that is where we see they leave the door open, and yes, Tasar is there on site ready to use his powers to steal what they need to steal. That is where he surprises Tiny by showing up in the car, and you can clearly see that Tiny is disappointed and a bit scared, because remember, he is the one that lined this up, so people are going to think that he set this all up once they find out that the product is missing. Back to Dion and Michael, who are both clearly shocked about what has just happened. Michael tried to explain to her what he just experienced, and Dion says that every time he tries to get near this Tasar guy, it seems like it triggers his powers, and maybe if he stayed away from him, that would solve it. But Michael lets her know that this is something that is a part of him, and ever since he had that vision, you know, things have just changed. He knows that something different has shifted inside of him. Dion pleads with Michael to stay away, even mentioning the date 9th of July, which we know is the date that she is going to pass away. But she says, if you just stay away from the estate until then, you know, we know that you're going to be fine. And Michael, he knows really what that date means, but he still hasn't had the heart to tell Dion just yet. Michael reassures Dion that everything is going to be okay. And that's where we see him send a message to Tuzi, letting him know that he's going to be back on the estate and to please pass the message to Tasar. Next, we see Tasar and the man them are back on the block, and they are discussing everything that has just happened. Now, Tiny, you can see that he is upset. Tasar even takes him to the side and tries to reassure him that no matter what happens, he is going to be fine. But Tiny reminds him that's his cousin's people and it's going to fall back on him. So, you know, it's not a good move. And Tasar tries to explain why they didn't tell him, because they know Tiny would not have lined up this move. Just as they finish having their chat, we see that the older guys come through. You can tell that the TB boys are feeling a bit tense now. They try and line up, but these guys, they're ready for action. That's when we finally get to meet the infamous Crazy. Crazy comes through holding up 2 straps, letting people know that this is a serious deal. That's when we see Crazy question Tasar, calling him by his first name Tayo, asking him if he tried to rob him. And all Tasar could say in that moment was craze. He could not believe it. You even saw everyone backing up as Crazy entered the chat, and that is where the episode ends. Boy, what an episode. This episode was jam-packed with action from top to bottom, and it's giving us a bit more of the story. We can see now that our superheroes are developing their powers. They know what's going on. You can see that they're starting to familiarize themselves with this newfound power, and it is going to get even more intense. I know it. Now, what are we going to do about Tasar? Tasar, you can't be going around using your powers for this wickedness. I know these guys are onto you, but come on, Tase. Come on. But let's see how the rest of the season carries on. I can't wait for the next episode. I'm going to give this episode 8 boys out of 10. Definitely a good episode, and like I said before, it gives us more of the story. We can see our heroes are developing their powers, and now they're going to have to adapt and get used to this new normal. What an episode. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know what you thought about this episode and what you think is going to happen next. Is Tasar going to calm down, or is it just going to get worse? Let's see. And I'm intrigued to see how things carry on for Michael on his quest to get everybody together. You can see now that he is going to keep on going until he gets to Tasar, and yeah, I wish him all the best, boy, because this is a lot. But yes, people, that was Supercell episode 2, Tasar. The next episode is episode 3, Sabrina. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when that episode drops. This is Supercell season. We are here for it. And like I say, Netflix, you better just give us season 2, 3, 4 and more. Yes. Please, if you like this video, make sure you share, let your people them know, like, subscribe and all of that good stuff. But yes, people, I will catch you in the next Supercell review. Dunno. boy. This is Supercell episode 3, Sabrina. Let's get into this. We kick the episode right where we left off from episode 2, where we can see that Crazy has now entered the Supercell chat. Crazy, he's not taking it very well that Tasar has tried to rob him. Now Masha's letting Crazy know what time it is, who was there, and he's trying to explain that it's one of those two, either Toozy or Screamer, and they're letting him know to shut his mouth. And that is where it leads now to Tiny, because Tiny was the one that lined it up. Crazy hands Masha the gun, ready to take Tiny out, but that is where Tasar suggests that they do a one-on-one. Yes, Tasar is going to take up and fight on behalf of Tiny. Now clearly he feels some sort of guilt. Tiny is the one that lined it up, but he didn't know what the full plan was. So Tasar now is going to do a one-on-one with Masha. This is where we see they are going blow for blow, and at one point Masha has got the upper hand, but just at the last minute Tasar manages to get the upper hand to the point where Crazy has to intervene by letting one off. Tasar, he was having him up. They are about to call it quits, but Masha is insistent that Crazy lets him take them out. Crazy is like, get in the car. Obviously, Crazy's just embarrassed now because this guy has just let the team down, and that is where we see things start to escalate even more. Just as the TB boys are celebrating Tasar's win, Tiny's letting him know, you should have let me take on Masha. You know, he believes that he would have won, and just as they are celebrating, we hear a gunshot and see Tiny collapse in Tasar's arms. Yes, Crazy is living up to his name. He has shot Tiny. Crazy warns Tasar, don't let him find out that he is the reason why his food is missing. He even says that he should have let his boy fight because he would have left it at that. But them celebrating just made him want to do that move even more. He just couldn't let them celebrate and just couldn't let them have that win. Now we're with Michael and Dion, and you can see the love between these two. She's made him breakfast even though he said that he isn't hungry, but you know, he might get a bit peckish later. She just wants to make sure that he is okay after everything that has happened, and he lets her know that he is good and reassures her that everything is fine. We can see that Michael is really honing in on his powers. He's able to transport himself in different spots in the room, so he knows that he is ready and is getting used to his newfound powers. We see Michael also teleport, ending up in his van where it makes a lot of noise, but he manages to get himself out of it. He calls his friend to find out what date it is, just making sure that he's still in the right, you know, time dimension. Gosh, his friend lets him know what the date is, and that gives him the confidence to know that his powers, he's starting to get used to them and be able to somewhat control them. Now we can see Dion has arrived at Tasar's house. She doesn't know that this is Tasar's house. For her, she's just doing her job, looking for one of her clients that happens to be Tasar's mum, Temmie. She does mention to Tasar's grandma that she hasn't been in contact with them for the last 2 months, and they are just doing checks just to ensure that everything is okay. Tasar's grandmother lets Dion know that Temmie mentioned that she was doing things that humans shouldn't be doing and that people were after her. Dion probes her to find out who these people were, but she mentions that she didn't say and she's not sure who these people are. All Temmie did say to her mum is that she will be back when she is better and that she must look after Tayo. Tasar's grandmother also mentions that she used to call every week at the same time, letting them know that she was okay, but eventually those phone calls stopped and she hasn't heard from her since. Now we are back at the operation. We can see that Temmie's body is on the table. This is so unfortunate. She has been killed by these people, and it looks like this is something that they do because they are taking her blood, and then we can see they have put that sample into a cabinet that is filled with many others. So that just makes us question and think, how many more people have they done this to? On the way to Tasar's grandmother's house, we heard on the radio that Dion was listening to that there have been a number of disappearances and people are asking everyone to be vigilant, and this just goes to show that this organization is taking people away from their families and trying to make things seem as if they are normal by giving them a phone call every week at the same time. I mean, come on, that's a bit strange. Now we're with Sabrina. We can see that she is at the hospital getting a body scan. She's probably worried worried, thinking that something is wrong with her after everything that has been happening. Now, the doctor lets her know that the scans have come back fine, everything is fine, and she has that reassurance that, you know, everything internally is okay based on the scan that she's just done. Now we see Sabrina is at work, and you can see that everything is just playing on her mind. She's not able to really focus at work, having to deal with a patient that doesn't have any patience while she's trying to find their vein, to then nearly giving one of her favorite patients an overdose. Sabrina is going through a lot. Sabrina ends up running to a storage room to take a moment, but this is where we see that her powers are activated and some of the equipment just starts rising, and she's completely shocked. She doesn't know what's going on, but she knows that something's going on. Sabrina decides to leave, get some fresh air, and that is where she nearly walks into the road, and that's where she is saved by Andre. Sabrina comes home and she is letting Shah know about everything that's going on. Now Shah clearly is skeptical about it, and she even asks Sabrina to show her. Sabrina's like, she don't even want to have this, let alone show her, and she tries to explain that it's not something that she can just do at the whip of a finger. Shah tries to calm Sabrina down and reassures her, even suggesting that they go out raving later, and Sabrina's like, are you alright? Like, you're really talking to me about raving right now? Now we're at the hospital and we can see that the TB boys have gone to visit Tiny. It's not looking good for him. He is in a critical condition, and you can see his family are there and they are not impressed. If you see the look that mum gave Tasar, because she knows that Tasar's got something to do with it. The guys go on to discuss Crazy and him getting out. How did he get out? Because he was meant to be doing 35 years. Screamer even says he must be talking to the boy them or something. Tasar, he's just feeling this guilt. The guys even ask him why didn't he go ghost, and he said that he tried but he just couldn't. It's like the power ran out, he just couldn't do it. They try and reassure him that it isn't his fault. The guys are debating because one of them is saying that they cannot compete with Crazy, he's in a different breed, but the other guys are saying no, Crazy has got to go for what he has done to Tiny. Tasar lets them know that Crazy can't do what he can do. Just then, Tuzi gets a call from Michael. Yes, he's got his number saved as delivery guy. Tuzi asks Tasar if he wants to take it, but he says forget all of that because they need to focus on getting Crazy. Just then we see Michael is at the sickle cell center with his mother, and they are getting her prepared and ready to become one of the patients that will be at the center. Now we're at the park with Andre and AJ, and they are having some great father and son time. That is where they talk about AJ's granddad, and Andre lets him know that his laugh reminds him of him. They go on to discuss how he passed away. Andre goes on to explain that his grandfather did have a sickle cell crisis, which then led to a stroke. So that was the reason for his passing. I think it's great that the show is highlighting sickle cell and bringing more awareness around it. In this scene, they were discussing that sickle cell is common amongst black people, but it can also affect other races too, and also that they had done checks previously to see if they had traces of it within their family, and they didn't. Once AJ and Andre get back to AJ's house, we can see that the Olders, they are on the road and they make their presence known by shouting out to AJ. This is where Andre takes the opportunity to speak to Braggs and tells him to stay away from AJ. We can see that Andre, he's keeping it composed because we know what he is fully capable of. Next we see Michael is on the estate waiting for Tasar. He spots them. This is where he has to show them his powers and let Tasar know that he is serious. He lets him know that there are people after him because of his powers and that they have to stick together so that they can fight off whoever this threat is. Tuzi tells Michael to move off of the block. Tasar tells him to move as well, but that's where Michael says to him, where are the others? He names Andre, Sabrina, Rodney, and Tasar looks at him with a look of shock because he doesn't know what he's talking about, but that lets him know that there are others out there with superpowers. And this is where the man then rightfully so have questions. How many other people have superpowers? Like, what is happening all of a sudden where people are getting superpowers? What is going on? And we can see that Tasar has this look on his face where he is confused, but at the same time he's conflicted because of everything that's going on with Crazy, Tiny. It's just a lot going on. Michael teleports and makes a trip to Gabriel's, where Gabriel is obviously surprised, but I guess this is the proof that he needs to show that Michael does have these powers, and this is where Michael lets him know what has been going on. Now, Gabriel gives Michael some good advice and is trying to brainstorm and help him think how he's going to find everyone. Now, he mentions that Tasar, road guys, they're going to be a bit ignorant at first, but let's focus on the others. And that's where Michael mentions that he actually did meet Rodney. He even had his number, but he ended up deleting it because he didn't need his services. Gabriel suggests to go back to where he saw Rodney because that is the usual playground and guaranteed he'll probably find him again in that area. Now we're with Rodney and Spud, and Rodney is showing Spud his powers. Rodney, in all of his excitement, showing Spud the moves. He happens to get himself into an accident where he gets a gash on his head. But this is where we see that Rodney actually has healing powers as well as being super fast. Lucky Rodney. Now, after all that excitement, Rodney and Spud end up at the cafe, and this is where we see that Rodney is able to eat in turbo time as well. Spud even makes the point of, not showing off your powers too much in front of people because the government might try and take you to do experiments on you, which is what we have just witnessed, funnily enough. Rodney mentions that they're going to have to catch him first, and that is where we see, yes, once again, Big Brother is clocking everything that's going on. Here we see Michael is in Rodney's playground asking around if anybody knows where they can get some food from, and this is where he gets lucky and he does get a number from someone which hopefully will lead him to Rodney. Next, we see Crazy is making a surprise visit to Shah and Sabrina's house. Clearly, Shah is not impressed with this new visit. She lets Crazy know her mind and is questioning him about why she is the last to know about him being released. He lets her know that he's only been out a few days, and that's where Sabrina just cuts it short. She lets Crazy know that he is not welcome in their home. Now, before Crazy leaves, he makes sure to drop an expensive gift on Shah, which happens to be a Cartier watch. Now, Shah, you can see the smile. She's clearly impressed, but she lets him know he ain't going to get it that easy. She does go on to tell him that she is going to be at Onyx tonight, and he says that he's going to pull up. Sabrina, before Crazy leaves, lets him know that she has not forgotten what he done to her sister, and if he ever tries that move again, she's gonna be the one doing 35 years. Crazy, you can tell that he is just not taking her seriously about bad girl Sabrina. Crazy, you don't know what powers Sabrina got, you better mind yourself. Now, Sabrina does not want to let Shah go by herself, so she ends up rolling to Onyx with Shah. Tasar goes to visit Tiny, clearly still feeling the guilt from what happened to him. He lets him know that he is going to get revenge on Crazy, and Tiny even lets him know that you don't even need to do that, just keep coming to see me. Now we see Andre is at the scrapyard and he is testing out his powers. We see him getting to grips with his newfound strength, and that is where he calls his friend to come and check it out. Clearly his friend is in complete shock, but realizes that his friend has super strength. Now we're back with Rodney and Spud is a bit concerned for Rodney, letting him know that he shouldn't be using his powers for personal gain, but Rodney lets him know, like, listen, we're mashing off of this, we need the money, so shush. He gets to work and we can see him whizzing all over London, getting those shots done within those 5 minutes. And again, we can see the cameras are documenting everything, so they probably are fully aware of what Rodney is doing. Now we're back with Michael and Dion. Dion is trying to explain to Michael what she spoke about with Tasar's grandmother about Temmie. We can see that the tension is building between Michael and Dion as she tries to get her point across about what she's found, and Michael just asks her to stop. He wants her to stop because this is going to lead them down the path, but she tries to explain that he's the one that's putting himself out in danger while she's just on the computer, but Michael is not trying to hear any of it. Now we can see that Rodney is at the meeting spot waiting for Michael. So now we can see that these two are connected and they are set to meet. Now we see that Shah and Sabrina are getting ready, and Shah makes it clear that Sabrina needs to step her game up. We are out tonight. They make their way to the club. Sabrina spots Kevin and she tries to speak to him, but Kevin lets Sabrina know to stay away from him. He hasn't mentioned it to anyone, but just please stay away. We see that Shah also has eyes for a guy that is in the club, and they start dancing, getting close, and that is where Sabrina decides to take a step back and go to the bathroom. Now we are back with Rodney at the meeting spot, and we can see that as he's just about to enjoy his little spliff, there is a hooded guy coming from the circled portal. No, we ain't got time for this. This is where we can see that the hooded guy, he tries to throw a fireball at Rodney, and that is where Rodney's powers are not working. Right when he needs them to work, they're not working, but just in the nick of time, Michael comes in and pushes Rodney out the way, saving him from that fireball. Just as the hooded man is about to leash off another fireball, Michael transports both of them out of there and straight into the club. Gabriel escorts Michael and Rodney back into the office where they can have a chat. Michael introduces himself officially and tries to explain to Rodney that he's going to go through everything that is going on. Now we're outside the club and we can see that Shah and that gentleman are getting very close. Now things start to take a turn as this guy starts to become a creep. Just in the nick of time, we just see one budof. Sabrina comes in to save her sister and lets this guy know that he is messing with the wrong sisters. Now, just as they are walking away, Kadeem, he throws some slurs at them and Shah turns around and says, "Who are you talking to?" And that is when we see that Kadeem actually has powers. Oh my days. We see him fly high and he is ready to attack these ladies. But just as he is going to go in for the swoop, that is when we see Sabrina just whoop, and Kadeem ends up smashing into the wall, killing him. Now, Sabrina goes to check if he is okay, but clearly he is not. She cannot feel a pulse. And Shah says, "Leave him, move." And the ladies run away. And this is where the operation gets an alert. We can see in Kadeem's hand that a red light goes off, alerting the operation that he is now deceased. What is going on here? They can see on the CCTV that Kadeem left the club with Shah, so now she is probably a target. Now Shah, having seen what her sister can do, she now must believe that her sister has powers, and everything that she was saying is now making sense. But this is crazy. We can see that they can see everything on the CCTV, and that is how the episode ends. Wow, wow, wow. Things are just getting deeper now. We can see in this episode that they're really starting to get to know their powers, starting to find out what they can do, what they can't do, and just getting used to and adapting to this new normal. This is crazy, and this makes a good point of showing you what it would actually be like if you were to get superhero powers, because we're so used to seeing superheroes. We'll get a costume and you never know, this might be happening soon, but they're keeping it as real as possible. How your family members may react, how your friends may react if they found out you had superpowers. And this is why we love Supercell. This episode is going to get 9 boys out of 10. It really led the story along. We're getting to see these superheroes really use their powers now and find out how they are going to adapt to this new normal. How is Michael going to connect everyone? You can see now things are starting to take place. He's found Tasar, he's found Rodney. Now he just needs to find Sabrina and Andre, and we're going to see how that happens in the next few episodes. Let me know what you thought about this episode of Supercell. What do you think is going to happen next? Leave your comments down below and let me know. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you are kept up to date when episode 4 drops. Episode 4 is called Andre. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when that is up. Wow. Let us continue this Supercell season. I will catch you in the next Supercell review. Dunno, boy. We kick off this episode right where we left off. We are with Sabrina and Shah. They are in a cab on their way home and they are clearly shocked about what has just happened. Shah apologizes to Sabrina for not believing her about her powers. She questions her. She says, "Your eyes done that thing. You know, how are you so calm?" Sabrina then goes on to say that she's going to hand herself into the police. Now, Shah is obviously like, "You're not doing that." Sabrina says to Shah that she killed a man. But Shah said, "You never killed a man because last time she checked, man can't fly. What is?" Shah tries to reassure Sabrina that this was self-defense and she doesn't know what she will do without her sister. Now we're back at the office with Rodney and Michael, and Rodney is clearly just not trying to hear everything Michael is saying, because as far as he's concerned, Michael called him to get some food and instead there's a guy with fire trying to kill him. Michael tries to reassure him that it wasn't a setup, and he explains that if the five of them stick together, they can solve this. These people are people that he saw in the future, and Rodney is really not trying to hear all of this. He's just trying to make his peas. Rodney is ready to go. He hasn't got time for this. His Uber is outside. Michael literally is begging him to stay so that they can talk this out, but Rodney, he ain't trying to hear it, and you can see the look of defeat on Michael's face. Now we're with Andre and AJ, and Andre's having a bit of trouble doing his tie, and that is where AJ steps in to help and make sure that his dad is looking right. AJ goes on to ask his dad what was prison like, and he lets him know that it was hell, especially as he wasn't able to see AJ. AJ's mum had moved on with a new partner, and AJ lets him know although he does like his mum's new partner, he knows that that isn't his dad, which was a fear that Andre had, thinking that AJ would start to call him dad and forget about him. AJ heads off to go to school, and that's when Andre is impressed with the tie work that AJ has done. Now there is a knock at the door, and he thinks that it's AJ coming back, leaves the door open, but that's when we see it's actually bailiffs that are ready to take whatever they can from Andre. Andre is clearly mad, and that's when AJ comes back, seeing everything that is going on. AJ even offers the stuff that Andre bought him when they were on their shopping trip to give to the bailiffs in order for them to clear the debt. This just makes Andre feel even more upset than he already is. Now this is where we know Andre has got a stash of money and gives it to the bailiffs to get them off his back. This was a difficult moment for Andre. You can see that he is really upset, he's angry, and it's unfortunate that this had to happen in front of AJ. You can even see at one point that Andre's eyes, he was activated, he was ready to get it cracking, but AJ was there just in time to calm things down. Really awkward for Andre because AJ was there. Even the bailiff, the cheek about listen to the boy. Listen, bailiff, yeah? Listen. Mind your business about listening to the boy. Shut. Next, we're with Sabrina. She's left a note for Shah and she's handed herself into the police. Now, the funny thing is when she does get to the police station, the police are unaware of any event taking place at the club. That is where Sabrina takes the opportunity to leave. Now we're at the restaurant where Dion and Terry are trying to speak to Mrs. Johnson about Jasmine. They want to help her find Jasmine, and Mrs. Johnson lets them know that they can't help. They're just social workers. They don't have any power. Mrs. Johnson was not having any of it with the "Uno, close my door." Yeah, Terry, you should know better. You just don't leave people's shop and leave the door wide open for the breeze to come in. Now we see that Michael is meeting Rodney and Spud at the cafe. It seems that Rodney has had a change of heart after last night's meeting. So Spud is actually the one that has spoken to Rodney and told him to give Michael a chance. Rodney lets Michael know that he needs to be thanking Spud because Michael, when he first came in, he wanted to, have a chat in private. But Rodney lets it be known that Spud knows everything. I'm just clocking. Michael love a chat in private, innit? He really love a chat in private, but Michael, don't worry, Spud is all right. Now, Spud is asking some great questions here. He's asking, could it possibly be the government that was coming after them? And also he asks if Rodney had any new powers. Now, Michael explains that he could run fast and throw electricity, which we know is something that Rodney doesn't have just yet. Now, Rodney, he still hasn't got his powers back and he is worried about that. Now, Spud goes on to explain the butterfly effect. This is where, because Michael has gone into the future, he has now potentially changed the paths of people that he's come into contact with and people that they've come into contact with. For example, some things that were meant to happen in that future timeline, because he ended up in that future timeline, it has now changed the present timeline, which is what they call the butterfly effect. Spud tries to elaborate on his point by saying if he didn't go to the future, Spud wouldn't be sitting with him right now, which is a fair point. Michael goes on to ask Spud what happens if someone's meant to die, and Spud makes a good point that potentially they could die later or they could die sooner, All of this is because of that butterfly effect. Michael once again pleads with Rodney to help him find the others, but Rodney politely declines. He says that he feels that Michael's a decent enough guy, but Rodney's got his own stuff to get along with, and Spud, he can clearly see that Michael needs this help, and there's something in Spud that really wants Rodney to help, but Rodney has decided that it's not for him. You even hear Spud say to Rodney, you should have helped him. Now we see that Sabrina has gone back to Onyx to see what has happened, to see if there's anything going on, and she can clearly see that there isn't a police presence. It's as if nothing happened, but we do notice that there is a bit of blood on the wall, so clearly someone has come in and cleaned up, but they ain't cleaned up good enough because they've left a bit, haven't they? Bit of blood on the wall. Sabrina gets home, making sure that she takes the note that she left for Shah and lets Shah know that there is no sign of a crime scene at all. Now Shah is like, obviously the police have come and, you know, done what they need to do, but Sabrina's like, no, there is nothing, there's nothing there. And Shah questions her, how do you know? Because Sabrina went back to the scene. So Shah questions her, why would you go back to the scene of the crime? Like, come on sis. Sabrina tries to reassure her that there was no crime, so therefore they should be fine. But it does beg the question, if Kadeem is still alive, if they are safe, if they're in danger, or if someone else took the body, there are a few questions that they have now. Next, we see Andre is on his way to a job interview, and he's on the phone to AJ, where AJ is saying that they don't have to go to the cinema, which they had planned already. Obviously, AJ's seen everything that's happened with his dad, and he doesn't want to add any more financial burdens on him, but his dad insists that they will be going. AJ also wishes his dad good luck for his job interview. At the job interview, Andre explains his situation about his past, and he explains the story of what happened. He was a young guy and he ended up driving an older guy, and that older guy happened to have drugs on him. Now, when the police stopped them, where he was the one that's driving, he's now been the one that has taken the rap for it. And this was when he was only 18. So imagine his hopes and chances were shattered just by being a nice guy and, you know, giving someone a lift. Andre goes on to discuss why he didn't talk to the police about who really owned the drugs. He mentions there's an unwritten rule about snitching. Also, he figured that where he is innocent, things would work out in his favor, but that didn't happen. He's also tired of being fired, where he doesn't mention this up front when he does go to these jobs. In this instance, he just figured honesty is the best policy. He wanted to be upfront with this guy and let him know his situation. We see Andre reaches Onyx and we can see that he's meeting up with his friend. That's where he lets Jay know that he didn't get the job. He lets him know how he's feeling about being a parent and not being able to provide for his son. His son even wants to get a job at the age of 15 because he can see that his dad needs that help and support, but this doesn't make Andre feel any better. His friend asks about the cash machine money and even suggests doing it again. Andre lets him know he ain't going to prison, he's not doing it again. His friend goes on to tell him about a spot that he could potentially rob. Can you imagine? What kind of friend is this? His friend gives his reasons. He knows that Andre can't stand drug dealers, so this is the perfect opportunity to take from them and also help himself. Just then he gets a text from AJ asking how the interview was. Andre, now intrigued, he's asking if there are guns at this place. Jay tries to reassure him that you're invincible, you know, you're bulletproof, so you ain't gonna need all of that. Just then we see that Michael is also at Onyx speaking to Gabriel. Gabriel's trying to find out the update with Rodney, and Michael lets him know that Rodney's not interested. Michael and Gabriel go on to talk about who these people are. Michael believes that they must be from South, where Tasar and Rodney are from South. And Michael knows they must be in his vicinity, i.e. they must be easy for him to find. Now, Gabriel comes up with another idea for Michael, saying using his work, why don't he try and use the database to find out who these people are via the deliveries. And Michael's like, there ain't no database, literally just go pick up the package, deliver it. And most of these packages, they don't have a full name, it's just the initial. But again, I think Gabriel is onto something, and that is when he gets a call from work. We can see throughout this episode, Michael has been ducking work, but his boss leaves him a message to let him know, listen, if you're not here within the hour, go look for somewhere else to work, because I've been more than understanding. Tasar and Crazy are having a meeting at the park. Now you can tell that these two have history from the conversation where Crazy mentions a quote that Tasar's mum used to say. Crazy continues to speak about Tasar's mum saying that she was such a blessed woman before she turned crazy. Now you can tell that he is trying to get to Tasar. He also mentions that I don't think that she liked me, and Tasar confirms that his mum never did like Crazy. Here you can see that Crazy has absolutely no remorse for what he has done to Tiny. He's like, what, you're still mad about your brethren? And Tasar lets him know that the doctors say he might not walk again, and that's where Crazy's like, well, he's breathing. The man, you can just see on his face, he just does not give a damn. Crazy asks Tasar to come back and work for him. He says that he needs his little brother back. Tasar lets him know, listen, I ain't your brother. Yeah, the only reason why I came here is to let you know I'm going to kill you. If you see how quick Crazy got up, that's how you know. Listen, Crazy is living up to the name. I'm going to say it again and I'm going to say it again. If you see how quick Crazy got up to let Tasar know, listen, little boy, you ain't going to kill me because I'm going to get you first. Oh my gosh, guys, this is war. If it weren't for the police pun the Orsi back, I don't know what would have happened in that moment. AJ is at the shops waiting for his dad so that they can go on their cinema trip, and his dad lets him know that unfortunately they're going to have to do it another time. This is where we see that Braggs has come out and offered AJ a lift, where AJ declined, but that was before his dad let him down. And now that he won't be going to the cinema anymore, he takes the opportunity to get that ride from Braggs. No, we can see where this is heading. Now we can see that John and Andre are outside of the trap. They are doing a quick recce so that they can see exactly the situation, the setup of the place, because Andre is planning to rob that safe. We also see that Crazy is in his office where the safe is, and that safe is full of money. Now as Andre and John are leaving the den, we can see that AJ, now he's been groomed. This is what we call grooming people, where the older guys are getting younger guys to do the dirty work for them. And it's funny because that is exactly what Tasar just explained his relationship with Crazy was like. Crazy was just doing and giving him the jobs he didn't want to do, but we can see how AJ has ended up in it, which is very unfortunate. Andre and John decide that tonight is going to be the night that they ambush the trap and get that safe. Next, we see Michael is out doing his deliveries in the hopes that he can find some of the others. Dion gives him a call to try and speak, and you can just see that they're not as in touch as they were. With everything that has been going on, this has put a strain on their relationship, and Dion, she's feeling it the most because she's in the dark. She doesn't have the full truth. Now we're back at the den and we can see that Crazy and Masha are having a conversation about why the money is short. Now Masha is blaming Braggs, and when Braggs comes in, he lets them know that there's a new shotter that is saying to everyone he can get to them in 5 minutes, and he is taking everyone's cats. Masha questions Braggs and says, so what, you're just gonna let this person just come and just mash up our thing? This then leads us to Rodney and Spud. Obviously we know that these are the guys that are getting the goods to the clients within 5. Rodney and Spud are trying to think about what they are going to do because Rodney's powers haven't come back yet. Spud goes on to say that he does think that Rodney should have helped that Michael guy, but Rodney, he ain't trying to hear it. Right now, all he's thinking about is the peas. Now, the phone line is ringing off. You know, people are expecting their draw within 5 minutes or they're getting it free, but Spud answers the call and lets this person know that that deal is not on today. However, this person, they want 10 bags. Spud is like, what? Yes, let me know, send the addy. We see that that person on the other line is Braggs. This ain't looking good, is it? It's not looking good. Spud is going to be the one that makes his way down there and lets him know that he'll be there in 20 minutes. Now we're back at work with Dion, where her work colleague lets her know that he was trying to smooth things out with Jasmine's parents. Now, this is where they get a call from Jasmine. He's letting Dion know the same thing. They get a call the same time every week. He was doing his best to try and get information from Jasmine, but all she kept on doing was letting him know that she's doing fine. Terry goes on to mention one thing that Jasmine said that did strike him as a bit weird. She said that when she's normal again, she'll come home. Now, this strikes a chord with Dion because this is the same thing that Tasar's grandmother mentioned Hemi said. The dots are all connecting now, and she can see that there seems to be a link between these two people being missing. Dion watches a video online where someone says they're being chased by hooded figures. He thinks they are chasing him because he has powers, and that is where we see his eyes turn yellow. We then go back to the operation and see that the soldiers are trying to hold Jasmine down so that they can inject her. It just looks like they're doing experiments on people that they kidnap here. Back with Sabrina and Shah, we can see Sabrina is trying to do her own research on superpowers. She's really trying to figure out exactly what is going on. Just then we see that Shah, she is getting ready to pick up a drawer, and you know where she's going to pick it up from. She could go and pick it up from anywhere else in the world, but no, she must go to Crazy's den to go and get the drawer. And look how she's dressed to pick up drawer. Shah, you ain't slick. We know what you're doing, girl. Just then we hear a knock at the door. Well, it's actually banging. Like, don't bang down my door like that, Michael. Yes, it is Michael. He is just about to walk away, and that's where Sabrina opens the door. And he's in shock. He's in disbelief. He is at the door of Sabrina. He says to Sabrina straight away, no long thing, you got powers. She's like, what are you talking about? You got powers. Michael tells her, yeah, you can fly. And she's like, no, I can't. He says, yes, I've seen you. You can move things without touching them. And this is where Sabrina perks up because she knows this man is telling the truth. Michael lets her know, I saw you in the future. That is where Shah comes down the stairs, clearly angry. Why? Because she has found the letter that Sabrina left for her, basically telling her that she's going to leave her and hand herself in. Clearly Shah is upset and she leaves the house. Sabrina, running after her, is trying to calm her down, but she's not having any of it. Michael chases the lady. Shah is letting Sabrina know, like, you tried to send me some dusty little letter. Listen, we gotta give it to Michael. Michael is putting in work because he pleads with Sabrina. Listen, let me just come with you, because Sabrina does have questions. Shah, you know she's skeptical about it. They are all rolling together because Michael, he's not gonna let this chance slip. Now we're on the block with the man them, and Tasar's letting them know the update on Tiny. Just then, Dots gets a phone call letting him know what's going on at the den. He gets the lowdown that it's only Crazy there, a few of the man them, and this is where they are going to put their plan into action. Andre is getting prepared to rob the big house. He gives John a call and lets him know that if anything happens to him, to look after AJ. Listen, John, he ain't trying to hear all that because he's like, ain't nothing happening to you. You're going to be looking after your own son. Why? Because you're going to complete the mission. Yeah, shout me when it's done, yeah? Whilst on the way to the big house, Charlotte, Sabrina and Michael are discussing Sabrina's powers. Michael is still trying to let her know that I saw you in the future and you were flying. And this is where Shah's like, what? Are you friends with Kadeem? What? All of a sudden flying? We can see now that all our heroes are making their way to the big house. Michael is really trying to convince Sabrina and explain to her everything that he saw in the vision. Sabrina says to Michael she's sorry that she can't help. Just then, he gets a call from his mum who is in agony, and it sounds as if she is having a crisis. He lets her know he is going to be there ASAP. Just as Sabrina is asking him about his mum and if she has sickle cell, she lets him know that their dad has it too, and that is where we see Michael just zoop. Michael didn't even have time to chat. He was out of there. He needed to make sure that Mumsy was good. Now we see that Rodney has awoken from his sleep, and that's where he listens to the voicemail that Spud left him, letting him know that he is going to lick a shot. And that's where we see that poor Spud is getting beaten by Crazy's crazy squad. They are not having it, and the poor guy, he has just come to give them their food that they've ordered, but clearly it is a bigger situation than what he thought. Shah and Sabrina are there as well, collecting their food, and that is where we see Tasar and his crew roll up. They are on smoke. They injure the security guard and bypass him with ease. We go to Michael, and his mum is in a crisis. You can see that she's in so much pain. Michael is calling out to the nurses for help, but it doesn't seem like anybody is coming. When Tasar and the crew come in, they are letting it off. We see that Crazy's crew manages to escape whilst all the shots are going off. It is absolute pandemonium. Poor Sabrina and Shah are caught up in the thick of it, and we can see now, going back to Rodney, he's eating crisps. All of this is going on. His poor friend is getting beaten to a pulp and he is eating crisp. What is going on? He tries to call Spud multiple times, but the number is unavailable. And this is where Rodney knows that something is wrong. Rodney gets his powers back and is able to go to the location that Spud says he was at. Sabrina and Shah are doing their best to escape, and that is where we see Andre come in and just fling a man. Andre is there for the safe. We see that Sabrina, Shah, Rodney, Andre, and now Tasar are all in the same room. That is where we see Sabrina's eyes turn yellow. Tasar's eyes are yellow. Rodney's eyes are yellow. Andre's eyes are yellow. Yes. Supercell heroes assemble. All we're missing is Michael, but I'm telling you, Michael would be proud in this moment because everybody did it. And that is where the episode ends. What, and more what? Yo, this episode was, I mean, all of them have been fire, but this one for me, it was so action-packed. And this just shows how everybody is so close. We've seen these people interact with each other prior to this moment, and now is the time. Let the Supercell Avengers assemble. Yes. I am going to give this episode straight 10. No discussion. 10 out of 10, mate. Yeah? 10 out of 10. Let me know what you thought about this episode below. What is going to happen? We've got 2 episodes left, yeah? What is going to happen in the next 2? We can see now. Michael, he would be so proud, but he wasn't there. Obviously, he had important matters to handle. Mumsy comes first, y'all. So, what is going to happen now? Leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. This episode was 10 out of 10. And what rating would you give this episode out of 10? Make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you are notified when episode 5 drops. Episode 5 is Rodney. That one's going to be dropping very shortly. So make sure you are subscribed so you are notified when that drops. Whoa, we've only got 2 episodes left. Really, I could have done with about 8 more episodes. I will catch you in the next Supercell review. Don't know, boy. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, boy. We kicked this episode off right where we left off with our Supercell heroes in the same room, except Michael. Sorry, Michael. Tasar is asking, where is Crazy? We can see that this is so tense. The situation is tense. Everybody is just frozen. And this is where Andre says, bun this. Why? Because Andre, he's got mouths to feed. He's ready to move off with the safe. And that is where Tasar fires a shot. Now, Tasar, what's wrong with you? Why? We see that this is the longest shot in history. It hits the safe, then tries to go and deflect towards Sabrina and Shah. Hell no. Sabrina uses her powers, which it then goes towards Rodney, and we know what Rodney's about. With a quick duckage, that bullet is not touching anybody. Rodney, he's up out of there with Spud in a second. Andre, he makes sure he flexes his muscles, bending that gun before he leaves in front of Sabrina and Shah. I know he was trying to impress Sabrina. We see you, Andre. We see you. As Sabrina and Shah make their exit, Andre makes his exit. We see the rest of the TB boys come, and Tuzi is looking at this gun like, what the hell? Because that gun is bent up. Tasar lets the boys know that Crazy is not there, and that is where they head out. Imagine all of this and the man weren't there. Now we head over to the operation, and we can see that there has been a stage 3 activation. On the screen, we can see the scenes. Now, remember, these people are seeing everything. So they've seen what's happened with Tasar. They've seen what's happened outside of the club. They've seen what's happened with Michael and the Sixer boys. Now they're saying that the stage 3 activation shows that they've seen 4 of their targets come into contact. So for them, this is a serious deal. Now we are back at the Supercell Center with Michael and his mum, Tina, who clearly is still in pain. Now they have been calling the nurses, and it seems like no one is coming. You can see the despair on Michael's face as he feels helpless. He wants to help his mum, but what can he do apart from call the nurses? They finally come in. He wants to stay by his mum's side, but all he can do is wait and let the nurses and doctors help his mum. Now we're at the hospital with Rodney and Spud. It is so sad to see Spud in this condition. Rodney, he's in despair because this is his best mate, and right now Spud is in a bad way. He even says to Spud, why did you go? Why did you go on your own? Yeah, I just really feel it for Rodney in this moment because that is his guy. This is where we see that Rodney and Sabrina see each other at the hospital. Rodney and Sabrina recognize each other. Rodney says he's not here to hurt her. He just wants to get some help for his friend, and if she could keep an eye out for him and look out for him, he would really appreciate it. Back at the operation, we see that they are working hard to try and identify all of the targets. They've only managed to identify one, which happens to be Rodney. They want surveillance on Rodney, hoping that he leads them to the others. We see Rodney has ended up at his mum's house, and his mum seems very surprised to see him. When they sit down to have a chat, she mentions to him that he should have called or texted before arriving. Rodney wants to spend time with his mum, but she is too worried that Greg will be coming home soon. And that's where even Rodney's like, bun Greg, like, what about me and you? And that's where he expresses to her the situation that's happened with Spud. Now, she tries to give him a bit of, sympathy, but this mum, she does not care about Rodney. I'm so sorry. I think he's so out of order. Don't be having children that you're not going to be caring about, and then you want to go and start a new family, and because Greg don't like how dare you? We all know why Greg don't like Rodney. Rubbish mum. Rodney wants to spend time with his mum. He's going through a difficult time at the moment and he just needs a bit of support. His mum is too busy worried about Greg coming back home with the kids, and that is where Rodney's like, bun Greg, you know he's a racist. Yeah, we know he's a racist. And Rodney further proves his point because he says to his mum, how come he took Rachel but he didn't take me? The mum, she loves Greg and she wants to be with Greg, but I'm sorry, it is unacceptable. How dare you disregard your child for this man? A racist man at that. He says that he will pay his way, tell Greg that he'll be like a tenant, and his mum is adamant that he cannot stay. Ugh, disgusting. We see Rodney power back home, and I just felt so sorry for him in this moment. Imagine that. Your friend is in hospital. He's probably feeling guilty about that. Then you go to get support from your mum and she's a cow. Oh, yuck. Rodney, he starts trashing the place a bit just to release some frustration and anger. And I just feel it for him. But don't worry, Rodney, it's going to be okay. Next, we're back with Michael at the Supercell Centre. Michael sees that he's had a lot of missed calls and he tries to make a call to Dion. Michael leaves a message for Dion, giving her an update on mum, reassuring her that she is going to be okay. He also mentions that when he gets home that they need to talk and that he has to tell her something. Next, we see AJ is outside his dad's house knocking for him, and AJ takes this as his dad ignoring him, but we see Andre is sleeping. He's had a long, hard night work of robbery and he is tired, so he doesn't hear AJ call. Poor AJ thinking that his dad is ignoring him, but that isn't the case. Man is just tired. Next, we see Tasar. He is on the estate, and that's when he gets a call from the one, the only, Crazy. Now, Crazy's like, you should know better than to take a shot and miss. Come on, if you're going to do this, do it properly, innit? Because now this has just caused even more beef between the two. That is where Crazy says to Tasar, if I was you, I'd go check on Nanny. Tasar breezes to his house to go and check on his grandma, and that is where he uses his invisible powers to enter and can see that the place is in disarray and his grandma is on the floor. Now, this is a new realm of disrespect, yeah? How dare you trouble Tasar's grandma? If you got beef with Tasar, take it with Tasar. Do not trouble grandma. How dare you? Crazy? Disrespect. Tasar immediately calls the ambulance for his grandma. Now we see that Sabrina is at work and she has a meeting with her managers about her performance and her progress so far. Now, obviously, they question her about what happened the other day, and she explains to them that she just had a lot going on and she knows that she shouldn't be bringing personal issues to work. But the thing is, they know how hard she works, they understand, and they know that this is just a one-off situation. Sabrina ends up getting a promotion. Yes! I was so happy in this moment because we know our girl has been working hard, going to work early, making sure that her patients are doing well, and this is a promotion that is well deserved. Go on, Sabrina. Now we are with Shah, and Shah is very busy. We see that Sabrina is trying to call her, but she cannot answer the call. Why? Because she's, with who? Why? Now, Shah, you just nearly lost your life yesterday, yeah? Going to this man's big house, big den, whatever we're calling it, the trap door. Shah says to Crazy that she was scared. She's glad that he wasn't there yesterday because she thinks they would have killed him. He doesn't seem too fazed or bothered by this because he lets her know that they ain't gonna be around for long. That's when we hear a car beeping outside, and it's the two ladies that Shah already questioned Crazy about. Charlene is not impressed. You've just done me, and then you've got these two outside my house. Am I a fool? Crazy lets her know that those are his business associates, and she's like, what business? Like, you know, he tries to say to her, move, you're messing up my money. Like, move, I need to go and make this money. Shah is clearly not having it, and that is where he strangles Shah. He even takes back the bussy Cartier. Yeah, I can't believe this. Shah is clearly livid. We see that Shah calls Sabrina, and before Sabrina can even drop the great news, Shah is letting her know what just happened with Craig. Obviously, Sabrina is going mad because she already warned Craig about this situation. Next minute, we see Charlene get a knife from the kitchen to go and do up Crazy. Now she's going crazy. Shah, don't do this. Now we're with Michael. He makes a call to Gabriel, giving him the update, and he lets him know that Sabrina wasn't interested. He also goes on to mention that he will be telling Dion everything. Now Gabriel questioned this, asking him, are you sure you want to do this? But Michael thinks that this is the right thing to do. We're back at the restaurant, and Dion is here to speak to Mrs. Johnson. She lets her know that she's not here in any official capacity, and she asks straight up, did Jasmine have a power? Now this is where Mrs. Johnson perks up, and Dion lets her know that her fiance has a power too. Mrs. Johnson, obviously feeling much more comfortable about speaking to Dion, lets her know that they took her. We then see Mr. Johnson come out, and he locks up shop because they need to have a serious conversation. He continues to tell Dion what he knows and lets her know that he spoke to them once, and they let him know if he informs the authorities or the police, they will kill Jasmine. This lets us know that it's an operation that is not working with these authorities. They're probably above them. Mr. Johnson goes on to say that he doesn't want the social workers or police coming around. Now they're trying to start coming around because a police report was filed. Dion lets them know that that's not something they done, and Mrs. Johnson confesses that she was the one that filed the police report. Dion asks them, why did they take her? Who's taken her? Where is she? That's where Mr. Johnson lets her know that one day Jasmine healed his sickle cell. This is Jasmine's power. She has the ability to heal. The conversation is cut short as Dion leaves, but she leaves her number with Mrs. Johnson and tells her to get in touch if Jasmine calls. Next, we're with Michael, who is waiting for Dion to get home. Now, when they get home, he is ready to tell her everything, and she also has some updates to tell him, and she tries to let him know what she has found out about Jasmine, about the guy online that has powers as well. And Michael is clearly frustrated because he says to her, I told you to leave it alone. Dion's like, no, you didn't. Just as Michael is about to tell Dion everything, they get a knock at the door, and it's Rodney. You know he's happy to hear from Rodney because Rodney done said to him, listen, yeah, I'm not helping you with nothing. But after what he witnessed yesterday, I think Rodney is now on Michael's side. Rodney starts to get into it and lets Michael know that he's got some good news. Michael kind of cuts him short. Rodney's like, do you want to do this in private? He knows Michael love a private. Now, they go to have that conversation, but Dion ends up hearing everything. Rodney lets Michael know that he saw all of these guys yesterday, everyone that Michael's looking for. He also mentions that Andre, he can take Michael to him right now. Michael, he's hesitant because he's like, you didn't want to help me. Like, why do you want to help me all of a sudden? That's where Rodney's like, do you want the help or not? Like, we got to go right now. Michael was just about to let Dion know everything, but this has taken priority. He's been looking for these people, and now Rodney's come to tell him that he can take him to one of them right now. You know Michael ain't gonna pass up that opportunity. We also get a clip that shows that the operation seems to have identified Michael because his image is shown next to Rodney's. Now we see that Tasar has left the hospital after the incident with his grandma. Tasar and the man them are discussing everything that's happening and what their next moves are now that they know that crazy is really, really crazy. Just then, Tuesday sees Veronica, and that is where the man them go to confront her about her setting them up with the Sixer boys. Tasar, he takes his frustration, anger, everything out on Veronica. It was shocking. Even his own man them had to tell him to stop because what are you doing, Taze? I know the girl set you up. I know she's a mad thing, but bruh, hold it. Now we're with Michael and Rodney. They are waiting outside of Andre's old workplace. Just then they see John come out and Rodney recognizes him as being Andre's friend. Michael politely asks John if he knows Andre. He denies all allegations. That's when Rodney steps in and gives a full description of Andre. Again, John denies all allegations. That is where Rodney lets him know, I know you're lying, and he gives him the power move. We see Rodney's eyes light up. John, still hesitant, he says, listen, I'll take your number. That's when Michael's eyes activate too. He see what Rodney just done. He's gonna use that tactic too. Michael just lit up his eyes and said, put the number in the phone. Michael tries to call Andre, but we know that man is sleeping. So they are insistent on his address, but you have to look at it from John's point of view. He don't know these guys from Adam. Like, you know, they might be the ones that's trying to set up Andre. So he is being cautious, but he promises them that he will get Andre to give them a call. Sabrina arrives home looking for Shah, but she's not at home. She tries to call her, and that's when we see that her phone is ringing on the roadside. iPhone just left on the roadside, please, where is Shah? She leaves her a message telling her not to do anything stupid and to give her a call back, but we know that Shah is not going to receive that message. Now we're back with the man them, and we see that they are posted up outside a house. That house happens to belong to Crazy's mum. Tuesday and Dots are firmly on the line of, no, we're not going to be doing this to people's mums. Screamer, on the other hand, he's ready for action. Anything Taser's on, he's on. But this is where they have a conversation because they say that this isn't right. And especially as Taser's just done that to Veronica, no, we can't be doing this to the women. No, it's not on. Tuesday makes it clear that he's not going to be participating. Dots makes it clear he ain't going to be participating either. And Screamer's like, so what? It's okay to do it to grandmas, yeah? And this is where Tuesday makes the point that we're not like Crazy. We're not as messed up as him. Tasar, he's not trying to hear all that. He says we wait. Michael and Rodney are on the estate to look out and wait for Tasar. Now, Rodney, he's not really impressed with Michael's plan. He just lets Rodney know, what's your plan? Rodney's like, all right, calm down, Mike, calm down. You know, he hasn't told him the reasons why he's so determined on getting everyone together. And I think in this moment, this is where they both see common ground and they're doing this for people that they love. We also see here that the agents, the operation, they can see these guys right now. The agents are even considering capturing these two now, but they're instructed to wait. Rodney now fully understands why Michael has been so determined. Just then we see that Andre is calling Michael back. And he's like, you know, I heard you was looking for me. Michael says to him, I will explain everything. Let's meet up. John, clearly concerned for his friend, says to him, you know what? This might be a setup. But Andre lets him know even if it is, he's ready to take them on. That is where John says, you know, you ain't even opened the safe. And when we go to open the safe, Andre gives it one punch, but we see the safe is empty. When I say empty. We now see Dion get a message from Mr. Johnson. She goes down to the restaurant to talk to him about Jasmine. Mr. Johnson lets Dion know that he does know where Jasmine is. Now, the reason why he didn't tell his wife is because he didn't want to get her hopes up, but he begs and pleads with Dion to please help him bring his daughter back. Now we're back with Tasar and the man them. It is now It's now nighttime. They're still outside this woman's house, poor woman, to the point she actually ends up calling the police. They can see her from the window, and next minute we hear sirens. The guys start to make a move, but that is where they are stopped by the police. Tasar puts his powers to use, telling all of the guys to give them their weapons so that he can make them disappear. Now the problem is that Tasar, he took all their weapons, but he didn't take the food. Screamer did not do a very good job of hiding it. The guys, they get taken away, leaving Tasar alone once again. Michael and Rodney are waiting for Andre to arrive. That is where we see that Andre is actually on his way to them, but just as he is on his way, out of nowhere, a hooded guy attacks Andre. Now, they are going back and forth. Andre is getting some licks in, but this guy just seems to overpower him. Just as Andre is trying to rebuild his strength, we see from nowhere that a portal is opened and one of the hooded guys sends an electric charge to the back of Andre, just taking him out. This is absolutely terrible. Michael and Rodney are still waiting for Andre, who hasn't shown. They call John to find out what's going on with Andre, and that's where John lets them know that he only lives 5 minutes away and he left about an hour ago. Clearly something is wrong. We then go to Sabrina, who is desperately looking for Shah. She's on the phone to people trying to find out information and find out where her sister is. That's when we see Michael and Rodney show up at Sabrina's trying to figure everything out. They let her know that Andre was meant to meet them, but he hasn't arrived, so they are guessing that he has been taken. Rodney goes on to explain to Sabrina that the us are the others that were at the den yesterday with the yellow eyes. Andre is one of them, and she asks straight away, where's that kid with the gun? She's talking about Tasar. That is where we see that Tasar, he's about to get taken. Tasar can sense that someone is behind him, and as he turns around, he is blown away into the phone box. He turns invisible. However, this hooded person has vision that enables them to see Tasar, whether he's invisible or not. The hooded one is dragging Tasar, getting ready to transport him. That's where we see that Tasar wakes up and you just see whoop. Yes, he sliced the hooded, letting them know he is not one to play with. That is where we see another hooded comes out of the portal, getting ready to throw some electric heat on Tasar. Just as the hooded is about to throw this electricity on Tasar, out of nowhere, we see it just whoop. Yes, Sabrina, Michael and Rodney have now entered the chat to save Tasar. Come on. And that is where the episode ends. Oh my, what are they trying to do to us? This was jam-packed. We gotta give it a 10 out of 10 again. I don't care. We gotta give it a 10 out of 10 again. 10 boys out of 10. This episode is really setting us up for the finale. We can see that everyone is starting to come together. The brains are braining. Everyone is starting to put their stuff aside to come together for the bigger goal, and it's only going to get even more peak now that we see how serious these hooded are moving. They just have no regard. They do not care, and they are willing to do whatever it takes to get these guys back into that portal. Poor Andre didn't have a chance. And if you notice, I'm not too sure, maybe I might be reaching, but it seems like these people or this portal, they might have a way to kind of numb your powers a little bit, because Andre, he was trying, or it might have been that he got flung around a bit and he couldn't focus on getting his strength, but yeah, he didn't have a chance. What are we gonna do? What is going to happen next? I cannot wait for the final episode of Supercell. This has been episode 5. Rodney, what an episode. Boy, let me know your thoughts down below. We've only got 1 episode left. Let me know what you thought of this episode, and how many boys would you give this episode out of 10? Boy, magnificent. I don't care. I'm sorry. 10 out of 10, mate. 10 out of 10. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when the next episode, the final episode of season 1, Supercell, will be up. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when that is up. Yo, People, I need to go and have a break. I need to sit down. That was a lot. Make sure you are subscribed and I will catch you in the next Supercell review. Jeez, don't know why. This is episode 6, Supercell. Let's get into this.
Hit that subscribe button.
We kicked this episode right where we left off with the guys coming to save Tasar. They are ready and activated, but we can see that Tasar, he is injured and he is weak at the moment. We then see as they are just about to get ready to fight the hooded, everything stops. Time has been frozen by Michael. Now Michael, he's able to stop the hooded and we can see that our guys, they're still able to move. Rodney even walks up to one of them to see, what's going on. And that is where Michael warns him he don't know how long he can hold it. And just as Tasar is about to make a move, Michael moves in and zaps himself and Tasar away to the spot that he was going to meet Rodney at, leaving poor Sabrina and Rodney to fend for themselves. Tasar shouts at Michael, "Why did you take me? What are you doing?" Michael says to him, "I can explain, let me get the others." That is when we go back to Sabrina and Rodney. Now it is looking very sticky for them. Rodney tries to use his powers, but they're not working. And that is where we see out of nowhere, more hooded are coming and they throw a fireball right in Rodney's back. This is painful to watch. Rodney is in agony. Sabrina is surrounded by more hooded, and just as they are coming towards her, she unleashes her power and manages to get them away from her and Rodney. Sabrina takes off her jacket and throws it on Rodney's back just as she is about to use her powers again, because we can see that a hooded is coming towards her. She tries to unleash the powers, but they're not working, and that is where we see the hooded is about to punch Sabrina's lights out, but no, you are not. Why? Because Michael is back and freezes time. Michael teleports Rodney and Sabrina back to Sabrina's house, and that is where they are panicking because Rodney's wounds are severe. Sabrina lets Michael know that he needs to get to a hospital, and she runs to get a cloth to try and start helping Rodney, but that is where they realize that Rodney has healing powers, and instead Rodney requests some baby oil. Really get stuck in Sabrina. "Rodney, now is not the time. It is not the time." Michael lets Rodney know he is going to be fine, and that's when Rodney reminds him that you didn't think about that when you teleported, did ya? And that is where Michael remembers, oh gosh, I've left Tasar at that spot. He goes to get Tasar and brings him back to Sabrina's. That's where we see that our heroes, they are completely drained. We see that Michael is feeling proud. Why? Because we've got most of them here, even though we're missing one. We're always missing one, aren't we? Now we are back at the operation and they have seen everything that has just happened. Now we know that these hooded are from the operation. They got body cam footage like they're feds and all of this, so they even have a body cam angle of everything that happened. They're even surprised to see that Sabrina has these abilities and now she is a target. The boss wants to know what is going on. Why did the operation yesterday fail? What is going on? How are they finding each other? Back with Dion and Jasmine's dad, they are discussing everything that is going on. Now Dion, she asks him to write down the address so that she can go to the police, and he explains, listen, the police, they have no power, letting us know that this is an operation that is above the police. Mr. Johnson goes on to ask Dion what powers Michael has, and she lets him know that he can teleport and freeze time. He then thinks that Michael will be able to bring Jasmine back easy because of the powers he has. Dion tells him to write down the address and she will speak to Michael, but she doesn't want to make him any promises. Dion recognizes the address as she has previously visited clients there. She lets Mr. Johnson know that there are plans to knock it down and rebuild it as it's been vacant for a while. This is where Mr. Johnson lets her know that, don't you think it's a bit weird? They've been saying this for such a long time and all now it hasn't been knocked down. Mr. Johnson goes on to explain that he bought a tracker from Amazon and put that in Jasmine's school bag without her knowing. Now one day he did follow that tracker and it led him to the estate where he received a phone call telling him to turn away and go home now. They threatened that if he didn't go home, that they would kill Jasmine. This is absolutely diabolical. Who are these people? Dion asks Mr. Johnson how did they know he was there. He says he doesn't know, but they know his face. However, they don't know Dion's. We can see that Dion tries to give Michael a call to update him on everything that has gone on, but he is still completely out of it from everything that happened last night. Rodney is the first to wake from the crew. We see that Rodney is on the phone to the hospital trying to get an update on Spud. It appears that there is no change. However, Rodney will be making his way to see Spud. That's where we see Tasar has woken up. Rodney introduces himself. Tasar asks where he is, and that's where Sabrina chips in and says that they are at hers. Michael comes into the room asking for a charger, and that's where Tasar starts going mad on Michael. Hey. Don't worry, Sabrina lays down the law and lets Tasar know, listen, I know it's a lot, but you have to remember this is my house, yeah? Don't come with no rubbish in my house. And in fact, you should be thanking Michael because he's the one that saved you. So calm down, Tasar. I'm so glad Sabrina laid down the law and let people them know you're in my house. This is my rules. Don't come with your rubbish outside into my house. Sabrina says to Michael, so those were the hooded things you were talking about. Michael lets her know that he doesn't believe that they are there to kill them, but instead they are there to take them. Sabrina questions, take them where? And that is what Michael doesn't know. But Dion knows. So answer the phone, Michael. Call back Dion. Call her back. She's got the info. Michael lets the crew know that he doesn't know who they are, but he does let them know that he has seen them before. He's seen them once with Rodney, and he's seen them in the future. Now we are back at the operation, and we can see that Andre is in a bad state. We see them give Andre an injection just before Jasmine heals him, and now Andre, he's not able to use his powers. Andre is thinking all of this has to do with that robbery, but the boss lets him know that they're happy that he done that because they probably wouldn't have been able to find him if he didn't. The boss wants to offer Andre a job so that he doesn't have to rob cash machines anymore. Now that job is to capture others with powers. They're using those with powers to catch others with powers. Despicable. For everyone that he brings in alive, he will get a bonus. Now this is where Andre's like, well, how much are they worth dead? Because you guys tried to kill me. And this is where the boss explains that humans that have Supercell aren't as easy to kill as regular humans. Andre wants to know more, asks if he has Supercell, why does he have it? The boss goes on to explain that at least one of his parents or both of his parents had sickle cell. Now Supercell is a mutation of sickle cell, and with Supercell it is a very rare condition, and even if you do have it, it can lay dormant in your body forever. It can be activated if you are within close proximity with another activated supercell. Now this is the most common way that your powers can be activated. The boss then goes on to ask Andre if he has seen any of these 4 individuals, showing the pictures of Michael, Sabrina, Rodney and Tasar. Now Andre denies seeing any of them, although he has. This is where the boss lets him know that it's important that these guys come in because they want to make sure that they are not a threat to them or to others, and also help them use their powers. Yeah, right. These lot, they want to do experiments, and then you see what they have done to people like Temmie. Yeah, they don't care about us. They not like us. They're not like us. Now the boss lets Andre know that he is well aware of AJ, saying, you know, you're not going to be confined here. If you're an agent, you will get to spend more time with your son AJ. You see Andre perk up. He will do anything for his son. Now we're back at Sabrina's house with Michael, Rodney and Tasar. Rodney, he always manages to find a snack. We see that he's enjoying cereal. Michael is explaining to them what he saw in the future, and this is where Tasar has some questions for him. Michael lets them know that they were getting ready to fight and that they can stop them if the 5 of them stick together. So Tasar questions them and asks, why didn't you get rid of them when we had the chance? Michael says no one needs to die and they can stop them without killing them. Sabrina is asking about Andre. Michael lets her know that they think that they may have got to him. They're not sure. But Sabrina, all she has on her mind is finding out where her sister is. She asks Tasar, where is Craig, Crazy, whatever you call him, where is he? Do you know where he is? Just then, Tasar gets a phone call, and guess who it is? Yes, it is Crazy. Obviously, he is not impressed to find out that he had guys waiting outside of his mum's house. So this is where Crazy makes his threats and lets Tasar know that grannies are going to be slaughtered. How absolutely diabolical. Tasar, he is tired of it, and he's saying, stop being a pum bag and link me now. And that's where Crazy lets him know a time and a place. A-Town, 8 p.m. Before Tasar heads off, Sabrina questions him. Who was that? Was that Crazy? And that is where things get tense between Tasar and Sabrina. She needs to know this info, and Tasar is not trying to give it. Tasar tells Sabrina to move. This is where Sabrina lets Tasar know, I'm not the 1, the 2, or the 8. I ain't moving nowhere until you tell me what it is. And that is where we see Sabrina's eyes flare up yellow. We see Tasar's eyes flare up yellow, and this is where Michael has to intervene. He says to Tasar, all right, just give me your number before Tasar leaves. I think he feels a bit bad because he's just been going on a bit wicked. He does let Sabrina know. Crazy said he's going to be at A-Town, and that's where he goes invisible and he's out the yard. We then see that Dion is at Ashington Estate. This is the place that Mr. Johnson says he last saw Jasmine's school bag. Dion is taking pictures of the estate, hopefully to get some sort of information or find out more about where Jasmine is. Just then we see Braggs and his crew rolling up, trying to draw Dion, and Dion lets them know she is not interested. Back at Sabrina's, Michael has finally received a charger. As his phone turns on, we see that Dion has been ringing, messaging. She's been ringing him down. He calls her back straight away. He can hear Braggs in the background. Dion is just like, leave me alone. Now, why is Braggs coming out of the car to do what? So glad Crazy saved you. He gets a call from Crazy telling him to get to the A-Town now, and that is where he moves. Hallelujah, because Braggs, I don't know what you thought you was doing about coming out of car. Go about your business. She told you already she's not interested. What? Make me sick. Michael keeps asking Dion, where are you? Where are you? And all of a sudden we see Michael is Michael has ended up in his and Dion's car, and that is where he is able to give Dion a hug. He's asking her questions. Who was that? Who were they? But Dion, she just wants a hug from her man. Sabrina is trying to look for A-Town. She's on the Google and it comes up with some lyrics to a song. Rodney lets her know that there is a place called A-Town, but it's actually a nickname for somewhere else. A-Town is the old Ashington estate. Yes, the same estate that they take the people with powers. Yes, the same estate that Dion and Michael are standing outside of. Back at the operation, we can see that they are working hard to try and figure out who our heroes are. There has been a facial recognition match, and they have now found out who Sabrina is. We then see the boss talk to his worker and let him know that all the assets need to be retrieved today. Back with Michael and Dion, this is where we finally get our heart-to-heart conversation chat. Listen, these guys have so much to catch up on, it's unreal. Dion lets Michael know how she has felt since Michael has got his powers. Imagine you get proposed to and then all of a sudden, you know, the man you want to spend your life with, he don't even like look at you. Dion says to Michael maybe that they should put the wedding on hold. He could be changing lives. He could be saving lives. Obviously, now that his circumstances have changed, she understands that things between them will change and maybe they should just take a step back. This is where Michael is like, I'm not no superhero. I ain't trying to save lives. The only life I'm trying to save is yours. Dion is like, I don't need saving. And this is where Michael has to let Dion know the truth. July 9th is actually the day that she is meant to die. Next, we see the hooded have reached Sabrina's house. They're taking the mick. Luckily, Sabrina and Rodney are not there. Back with Michael and Dion. Dion is letting Michael know that at first, you know, she was thinking, how could you wait so long to let her know? But she put herself in his shoes. There is never a right time to tell anyone that kind of news. You just see the tear come from Michael's eye. Oi! Give these people Oscar, Grammy, award, give them everything, please. Dion, she is really taking this news like a champ. I've got to give it to her. She's even saying now she gets time to prepare. She's saying they can get married, but let's get married tomorrow. And Michael is trying to reassure her they're not going to need to do any of that because he's found all of them and he's going to get Andre out and everything is going to be okay. Dion tries to explain that she doesn't want to die, but if this is God's will, then so be it. But Michael, he's not trying to hear any of that. He's trying to explain the butterfly effect to Dion, but Dion is trying to comfort him and let him know that it's okay, it's okay. Nah, man, this scene, I swear it nearly had me in tears. Even now, I got a little bit of driplet in my eye, but that is where Rodney comes in to save us all from crying. Rodney, he's been trying to call Michael and the guy has not been answering his phone. Him and Sabrina have turned up at A-Town. Rodney questions Michael, how did he know that they were going to be coming here? And he says he didn't. He came here to meet Dion. This is where they discovered that A-Town, Ashington Estate, all the same place, and that Andre could be there and that Charlene could be there too. Michael tells Dion that she should go home, but she lets him know that she don't want to be alone. And now they know that today ain't her day. She'll be rolling. Rodney takes the opportunity to drive the lovely Beamer down to the estate, and this is where they see that it's a dead end. The estate looks abandoned. Michael's curiosity peaks and they discover that there is a whole next road to the block. As they drive through, they can see that this place is a complete mess. We can see a queue of people lining up to get their fix, and who is providing? Oh, AJ, Andre's son. Yes, he's on the A block. The guys, they've got him well underneath their wing. AJ is right in the thick of it. The squad even notice how young AJ is. Rodney makes a comment, they recruit them from the womb nowadays. And you see Braggs, he's so proud. We can see that AJ, he is going down the wrong path. Just then, a car pulls up. Yes, it's Crazy. And this is where Sabrina recognizes him. No long thing, she is out the car, making her way to Crazy. Rodney follows. Dion says to Michael that he should go too. Sabrina walks straight up to Crazy, gives him the lick of his life. Where is my sister? Yo, this is where Crazy tries forwards towards Sabrina and Sabrina just gives him the whoosh of his life. Remember Kevin? Yeah, Crazy, have some of that. The man them don't know what is going on. Masher tries bring out the mash, but that's where Sabrina lets him know that ain't gonna be mashing around here. Whoop. Gone. The man them, they get out of there ASAP. That is where we see Michael tries to stop Sabrina and lets her know, if you kill him, you ain't gonna get any answers. She wants to know where her sister is. Out of nowhere, we see that Tasar has entered the Supercell chat and he is hovering over Crazy. Yes, he's ready, he is armed, and he's ready to get this whacking. Sabrina pleads with Tasar not to do it just yet because Crazy still hasn't told her where Shah is. Dion notices that a portal seems to be opening up. She honks the horns to try and warn the guys. Now, just as Tasar is about to finish Crazy, Rodney comes in because a fireball comes out of nowhere, aiming right at the guys. Michael is blown away by the blast, and this is where Dion loses it. She is out of that car to try and save her man. We see the hooded. They have come out of that portal. They all seem to be behind Crazy. Sabrina lets Crazy know, listen, Craig, you're going to want to come over here because those things, yeah, they're not for us. And this is where we see Crazy start laugh. I said, why is this man laughing? We then hear Crazy say, dangerous like you, Sabrina. Or dangerous like me. Missy Crazy eyes light up. Crazy has Supercell. So you mean to tell me all this time Crazy's always had powers, yeah, but he's an agent. Crazy's an agent. Obviously, everyone is in shock. This is where we see that Crazy's power is he has the ability to touch someone and get their powers. Boy, poor Dion gets a slap as the hooded, they're coming for Michael. Crazy even notices Rod Speed and hear him, I can't wait to try that one. No, look at this guy. Crazy lets them know that they're newborns in this powers thing. Sabrina asks, where is Shah? Crazy lets her know that they took them thinking that she was the one that had the powers, but it was actually Sabrina. Crazy tells the guys, I'm sure we can come to some sort of and Rodney's like, I'm not trying to hear this. Don't you ever shut up. Rodney just starts doing his power speed, and that's where one of the hooded catches him, but Rodney manages to take off their hood. And this is where we see that the hooded are people that we've already seen. These are part of Crazy's crew. Unfortunately, Andre. Yes, we see Andre is part of the hooded crew. He even goes to pick up Michael to take him to the portal. I can't believe this. Crazy is going crazy looking for Tasar. Tasar has gone into invisible mode. Crazy is looking for these goggles so that they can see Tasar. Everybody's looking for them. Andre shouts to one of the guys to open up the portal so that he can transport Michael in, but they are too busy looking for goggles. Sabrina spots them, and as one of the girls tries to get the goggles, she makes sure that they ain't got a chance. Sabrina stamps on the goggles, destroying them, and we see that the hooded that she flung, it doesn't look like she is going to make it. She passes, and this angers another one of her colleagues, where she comes in and tries to fling Sabrina with some wind power. Sabrina cannot breathe. Andre notices this. He even says to them, Ray said that we need them in alive, don't kill her. But we can see this girl is not going to stop. She wants revenge for her friend. All of a sudden, we see this girl stops. She's on the ground. Why? Because Tasar does what he does best, and that's slicing. She was gone. This is where Tasar and Crazy lock eyes, and they're about to finish Tasar, but he's gone again. Crazy and his crew, all they're thinking about is getting Tasar, whereas Andre, he's thinking about his money. He just wants that portal open so he can bring back one that's alive. It is not looking good for our heroes as they are being dragged to a portal. That is when Andre gets stabbed. We know who done it. We don't even need to think who done it. And that's where Michael's powers kick in and everything freezes. Michael runs to Dion to make sure that she is okay and asks what happened. She says that she tried to stop them from taking him, and he's like, we need to go hospital now. Dion's like, you need to stay here and help these people. Michael teleports back to where Tasar was to start rearranging things and making things a bit more peaceful. That's where he notices that Andre is one of the hooded. He unfreezes Andre and starts talking to him and introduces himself and says, I'm Michael, the one that you were meant to meet. Like, what are you doing with these people? They're dangerous. And this is where Andre says, they told me that yous lot are dangerous. And Michael's like, no, they're lying to you. Michael lets Andre know Andre is supposed to be with them. Andre explains that they paid him and, they threatened him about his son. We see Michael teleport the portal boy out of there. And that is when we see Crazy and his crew are starting to look at Tasar. Now, Crazy, he gives Tasar one punch of a lifetime that lands right on top of Dion's car as she is trying to get out of there. We see Crazy jump on that car and lift up Tasar like nothing with one hand. Poor Dion, she tries to help and tells Crazy to leave Tasar alone. Tasar just gives Dion one budoof and she's on the ground. I gotta give it to Dion. She's a very, very brave girl. This is where we see Crazy getting ready to take Tasar out. Even saying, what, is this the infamous Tasar blade, yeah? Yeah, it is. Just as Crazy is about to end Tasar, we see that Andre, out of nowhere, he grabs Crazy's hand. Crazy's even like, what are you doing? And next minute we see Andre just fling the man. Yes, Andre is on side. We see that one of the hooded is about to attack Andre, but that's where Rodney comes in, gives him a push. Andre gives him the punch and he is out of there. But no, he's not out of there because he gets up. He shouts out to Andre, what, you think that's enough? That is where bad girl Sabrina just gets up and lets it be known, no, this is enough. And she just sends the whole of the scaffolding down on the hooded. Good. Dion notices that Crazy, it looks like he is getting up. And guys, have you noticed? We've got all 5 of them together. Yes. Crazy pleads with our Supercell crew to just call it a truce. He says to them that he's got a device that can get them back to the operation. And that is where they are starting to believe him. Rodney goes to check. And that's where he sees that it's just a phone in Crazy's pocket. This is where Michael realizes this is all a lie. And yes, Crazy, he goes crazy and he kills all of our heroes. Oh my gosh, Tasar got the worst of it. Next minute, we see that Crazy, he is now at Dion's car and he is going to do the same to Dion. Michael, he is going through it. And this is where we see it was actually a vision. We see Crazy is trying to get up, and just as he goes for Tasar's knife, this is where we see Michael's foot upon the knife, and then all of a sudden we see Michael just Give it to Crazy. Michael, who? The top one that's like, we don't have to kill. Sabrina is absolutely mortified. How are they going to find out where her sister is? Michael tries to explain to her he was going to kill us. He had to do it. Just as they are talking, that is where we see Crazy shoots the weapon, but Rodney is able to save Michael, but unfortunately, he couldn't save Dion. This is what we call the butterfly effect. Now remember, Spud made the point that the timeline can change. It could happen earlier, it can happen later, and unfortunately, this has happened earlier. We are nowhere near the 9th of July, and our beloved Dion is gone. Hi. Michael couldn't even use his powers to get to her. He had to run. And poor Dion, it was too late. Nah, man, this scene, I'm sorry, I don't care. Yes, there was tears down my face. I don't care. It was so sad because imagine Michael has been doing everything to stop this moment from happening. And when they least expected it, look, they even had matching outfits. I don't know, did you guys clock that? Both of them had on the greys, both of them had on the jeans. Like, nah, man. Now we're back at Onyx. We can see that some ladies are ready to enjoy, but Gabriel lets them know that they are closed. We see someone in a blue hood approach Onyx. Spud is alive and well, and he is asking Tasar a few questions about his power. Rodney saves Tasar from any more of Spud's questions. We see that the person in the blue hood is Michael. Michael thanks everyone for coming. Now Rodney questions Michael and says, you know, of course we'll come, but don't you think it's a bit too soon? It's only been a few days. For Michael, the sooner the better. Rodney says, I thought that you can't bring a person back once they've gone. And Michael says that he isn't trying to bring her back. What he is going to do is go to the future to try and find out why they sent Crazy and his crew after them, who these people are. And this is where the camera pans to Andre, because obviously he was in that operation not too long ago. Michael lets it be known that he is going to find out as much information as possible. And when he comes back, all of these people are going to pay. Our Supercell crew united. Michael's eyes light up. Sabrina's eyes light up. Andre's eyes light up. Tasar's eyes light up. Rodney's eyes light up. Yes, Supercell is here. And that is not where the episode ends, because we then see the operation. We can see that Shah is in the facility. Then we see Crazy. Ray lets Crazy know that he was one breath away from passing. Crazy shows his gratitude and lets him know that he is thankful. It was close. He did think he was a goner, but next time he's going to make sure it gets done. Crazy asks what the boss is saying. So all this time we're thinking Ray is the boss, but no. The boss is that woman that came to visit Michael's mum. She the real boss? All makes sense now. No wonder why she's got a whole sickle cell center. This is what she's really up to. Despicable. Crazy is pleading with Victoria. Victoria lets him know, listen, I gave you how many chances? I've saved your life how many times? I let you sell your drugs, and what have I got in return? Problems. She even calls him by his first name, Craig. You can see this is the first time I've actually seen Crazy scared of anyone. So Victoria, what are you about? Craig pleads with Victoria, even saying that his activation is one of a kind. No one can do what he can do. He even pleads with Ray. Ray, let her know, speak to her, because Craig knows what is about to happen. She gives her soldier the signal, and that is when we hear Craig is gone. We'll get back to that. As Ray and Victoria get in the lift, Victoria lets him know that she is very disappointed. She went against her better judgment to allow Ray to do things his way. It clearly hasn't worked. Now they're going to do things her way. And that is just as she is looking at a picture of Michael on the iPad. And that is where the episode ends. Absolutely diabolical. Let's get back to Crazy. Yeah, before I really go in, let's get back to Crazy. That man is not dead. I will be seeing him in season 2, 3, 4 and more. I expect it. If it is not in our eyesight, to me, it never happened. I think they just give him a shot. They're going to get Jasmine to come heal him, do something, and then he's going to be back, because there's no way you can just get rid of him like that. Why? Why? The villain is villaining. But all I want to say is, oi, Supercell, magnificent. We need more. We want more. There must be more. This episode, you know what we're giving it, 20 out of 10, straight 20 out of 10. It was amazing. The storytelling, the twist at the end, everything made sense. I cannot wait for season 2. You know that we are going to be here for it. Netflix do not play about. I want to thank Ratman, the directors, the cast, the crew, everyone that worked on this show behind the scenes. This has been amazing. Like I said, Supercell, we say season 2, 3, 4 and more. We are ready. That was Aleisha Lee Reviews Supercell episode 6. What did you think about this episode? What did you think about the series? What did you think about this season as a whole? Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Let everybody know what's going on over here. And I want to thank you all for subscribing, liking, commenting and watching. Thank you all so much. It has been fantastic. Let me know what show you want me to review next. I have had a request from my brother T. Shout out to T. He wants to see The Boys. So we're going to be getting on to The Boys season 4. If you're into that, please do hit that notification bell, hit the subscribe button so you are notified when The Boys reviews are up. I'm going to miss Supercell. You know I'm going to go back and watch the season again until I get season 2. But yes, people, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for watching. And I will catch you in the next review. Done. Bye.